Over the last 30 days, I've had a listing agent downplay the utilization of VA loans, as well as a veteran themselves misunderstanding the true use of a VA loan. What's up, guys? My name is McKeown. I'm a licensed real estate agent in the North Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth market, as well as the Orlando, Florida market. What I'm going to be discussing with you guys today is a lot of the misconceptions that go along with the VA loan, largely part due to a lot of misinformation and just lack of knowledge, but it comes both on the veteran side as well as the agent or potential person in the real estate sphere that just at the end of the day lacks knowledge on VA loans. About a month ago, I reached out to an agent. I actually had a veteran himself reach out to me on YouTube, wanted to get connected with me locally, actually in my market. Side comment here, if you do need to get connected in the Dallas-Fort Worth area or Orlando market, I would love to help you. And if you're not in either of those markets, I do have a strong connection to agents and lenders across the country that can certainly help you out. But this particular person that reached out to me as a veteran himself was going to be local in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, wanted to house hack a multifamily similar to what I did back in 2017, as well as again in 2019. And lo and behold, we had an opportunity with a property where a seller was selling two duplexes kind of in the north metro of Dallas. Now, one of them had already gone under contract, and a second one we took a stab at. But as soon as I reached out to the agent, you can see his response as far as how he viewed VA loans. Now, as you read this text, you can probably see a lot of statements that are just outright not true. Now, this person's experience with VA loans may not have been the best, but honestly, a lot of the time, it depends on your agent and your lender, how your experience is going to be with VA loans. Now, if they're an agent such as myself that has used their VA loan, or if you have a veteran themselves servicing you as a mortgage broker, you're going to have someone that has a lot more experience and knowledge with VA loans. Now, this particular listing agent, as you can see, had very little experience with VA loans, but the little experience he did have seems to not have been the greatest experience. Now, what's even funnier is we wound up closing on this duplex even sooner than the 30-day traditional close. And on top of that, he sent this text at the end of the transaction thanking me and basically saying that this was an incredibly smooth transaction. Now, to be honest with you guys, I would say one of the biggest misconceptions, and it's something that I think veterans struggle with daily when they're pursuing homes, is the fact that a VA loan is less competitive than an FHA loan or less competitive than a conventional or cash offer. Now, there are a lot of aspects of every single real estate contract that can definitely differ and certainly make a VA loan less competitive or a VA loan more competitive. But traditionally, if you're an agent and you're looking at your long list of offers that you have, it's unfortunate because a lot of those agents don't have the knowledge and immediately assume that VA loan is not going to win because it's not as strong as potentially a cash or conventional offer. Now, one thing I do have to say about that is there is one aspect, being the amendatory clause, that certainly could put a wrench in things if you're a listing agent. But outside of that, if an agent does their job, meaning a buyer's agent presenting the VA loan themselves, if they do their job, they should be able to express just how well that VA loan buyer is going to be for this particular property. Now, one of the frustrating parts for me as an agent, as well as me as a veteran, and being someone that's representing a veteran buyer as well, is the fact that a lot of people don't understand or even know about the FHA/VA amendatory clause. Now, what this is it actually protects all FHA buyers and VA buyers if the property does not appraise. Now, there are aspects of every single state and within the contract stating that, hey, if this property doesn't appraise, you potentially can get your earnest money back. You potentially could fight and get out of the contract. But I'll tell you right now that FHA and VA amendatory clause trumps anything and everything else within the contract, basically stating that if you're going to be accepting an FHA or a VA loan as an individual that's selling the house, you better make sure that that property is going to appraise, or 3 weeks down the road, you're going to be hurting because you have no leverage and the buyer is likely going to either back out or require you to come down in price. Now, this may be a frustrating point for a lot of veterans. It is one of the biggest reasons why it's difficult to compete against cash and conventional offers. Not saying that it's going to be impossible, But a lot of what I do for veterans is I attack properties that don't have multiple offers. Maybe that's been sitting a little bit longer, a property that maybe you could get some seller credits or seller concessions to help you get into the property for free, rather than you trying to outbid other individuals and wind up putting 13, 15 different offers in without a single one being accepted. Now, this actually leads to my second scenario that actually just happened this past weekend. This was an actual client that I have under contract. He's a veteran himself, and he's trying to utilize his VA loan. But the hard part here is he doesn't truly understand the use of your VA loan. Now, a lot of you folks, if you're veterans yourself, you assume that, hey, 0% down, that means I can buy a house for free. Unfortunately, that's not exactly the case. Now, this particular situation, and really any particular situation, if you do put a offer on any house with a VA loan, you're going to have to put some kind of deposit. Now, for most states, this is going to be earnest money. The earnest money can vary, but that is going to be required to put down as essentially a security deposit, showing good faith that you do actually want to pursue the property. And in addition to that, here in Texas, we have an option period. The option period in Texas allows you to get your inspection. For VA loans, you're going to need a termite inspection as well. And really anything else you want to get checked out is, potential remodel costs or having contractors walk through the property. That option period allows you to escape or terminate the contract really with no harm and no foul outside of the option fee. So again, the option fee and earnest money are both required and are going to require you to put some type of money down into the property within really 72 hours of acceptance. Now here comes a caveat. In this particular situation, I actually negotiated for the buyer a little over $7,000 in seller credits. Now that $7,000 in seller credits at the end of the day here in 30 days when we close is going to cover all of his expenses. I mean, we're talking potentially any escrowed insurance, taxes, any kind of potential buy down, and any other lender related costs. Again, all of those costs are going to range anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 in this particular instance. So because I negotiated $7,000 for him, in 30 days, he's essentially going to get his option money and his earnest money back at closing. Now, because I negotiated those seller credits for him, yes, he's going to have to put money down initially, but he's going to get that refunded in 30 days when we close. So technically, he's buying the house for free. But if you're looking to put in an offer on a house with a VA loan and you don't have any money saved whatsoever, you're going to be in a tough position because you do need to put money up front. But if you do have a good agent or if you're able to negotiate, you can get that money back at closing. So yes, VA loans aren't all that bad. And if you're a veteran yourself and you educate yourself well enough, the VA loan can be the biggest asset for you moving forward. But another misconception about VA loans is that you can only have one. Now, I've discussed this previously, probably in multiple videos, but I would say it's the biggest question that comes back to me. Now, right now, if you do not have a VA loan, you can go purchase a house regardless of the amount of that home. Now, the downside of that is you got to make sure that your credit is good enough and you make enough income to buy that $1, $3, $5 million house with your VA loan. Now, the misconception and kind of confusion that people have is, hey, I bought a house 10 years ago with a VA loan and I want to utilize the VA loan again. Most people don't understand that you can, yes, have 2, 3, maybe even 4, who knows, VA loans out at the same time. Me, myself, I had a VA loan out for my duplex that I purchased in 2017, and I took a second VA loan out in 2019 to buy a fourplex. However, since then, I've actually sold my duplex and I've sold my fourplex as well, meaning now I have no VA loans out. And if I wanted to purchase a primary residence, something that I was going to occupy, I truly could buy any priced home, assuming that I could qualify for it. However, the real confusion is when you're trying to utilize the VA loan again, but don't want to sell that first property that already has a VA loan on it. So what it's really going to boil down to is conventional loan limits. Now, if you have one VA loan, let's just use $200,000 as an example. Your conventional loan limit is $600,000. You can utilize and benefit entirely from the VA loan, the difference between the two. So for instance, if you own a property and you used $200,000 of your entitlement, that means you have $400 left of your total $600,000 entitlement. Now, again, every single state's going to differ. I know down in California, you can have a much larger entitlement, and maybe you don't utilize that fully for your first VA purchase. So down the road, if you have leftover, you can utilize your VA loan again as long as you don't go over your entitlement. But it doesn't stop there, guys. If you do go over your entitlement, let's just say you, again, have $600,000 as an entitlement in your location. You utilize that completely. The first purchase that you ever make, you utilize $600,000. You put no money down, and you exhaust your entire entitlement. Well, things change in a couple years and you decide to buy $1 million house. You can still utilize your VA loan, but you've reached your entitlement. So any type of overage in entitlement, in this case, $1 million home, you're gonna have to put a down payment of 20 to 25% of the overage. So in this case, you're gonna have to put $200,000 to $250,000 down on this second property, which, depending on it, you may want to entertain looking at a conventional loan and the difference between the two. Now, there's a lot to discuss when it comes to the VA loan. I've made a ton of different videos, whether it be investing with your VA loan, whether or not it's, things I want to or should have maybe known before utilizing my VA loans. Honestly, guys, there is a ton of information when it comes to VA loans. A lot of the frustrating parts, as I've already mentioned, is the lack of knowledge from other realtors. And no offense to a lot of the veterans that are watching this as well. You yourself, and I'll be honest with you, myself as well, prior to getting into real estate, we just don't know much as veterans about the VA loan. I'm trying to educate as many veterans as I possibly can by putting out as much VA loan related content as possible. But still, you're going to come across, such as the client that I have now, that doesn't entirely understand the use of their VA loan. And on top of that, when it comes to veterans not truly understanding, a lot of people get confused with whether or not they can have a second one or a third one. Now, the last misconception is going to kind of be two parts. First and foremost, if you are a veteran and you are warranted the option to have full entitlement for your VA loan, it has to be a primary residence. So if you are someone that's looking for, just a traditional single family home, move your family into it, no harm, no foul. Now, what you're going to have issues with is if you buy a home, you never intend to occupy it, and you immediately turn it into a rental property. Now, a lot of ways that people can get around this is if they buy a multifamily home, meaning that they buy a duplex, a triplex, or a quad, live in one, and rent out the others. Now, this is the avenue that I took when it came to investing with my VA loan and has been highly lucrative. Now, my next purchase, though, is going to be just my dream house with my VA loan, using all the benefits of a VA loan to really put 0% down on a rather, forever home for myself. So big asterisk here, guys, for you. If you are a veteran and you utilize your VA loan and you don't occupy it, that is mortgage fraud. And needless to say, it's something that you should never entertain because it comes with a pretty high jail time. Now, before I end this video, I do want to give a couple quick tips for all the veterans out there. If you are 10% or more disabled, you can waive your funding fee. Waiving your funding fee is going to save you some of that closing costs that you would have to bring to closing if your agent didn't negotiate any closing costs for you. And on top of that, if you do have multiple VA loans, again, if you have any disability, you're going to have that funding fee waived, saving you probably thousands of dollars. I hope throwing all of this together in one video helped you guys out. If you have any questions about utilizing your VA loan, or potentially, maybe some questions that you have that you aren't sure if it's true or not true, leave it in the comment section down below. I'll make sure to get back to you just as I always do. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help, and stay tuned for the next video.